remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Merry Christmas, everyone! I am the Kaiju no Kami, and I'm celebrating this day by taking a look at Uchu Sentai Kyuranger. In 2016, toward the end of Zyuohger's run, Toei announced their next series, which would be quite ambitious. They hired Nobuhiro Mouri to helm the show, whose writing credits include being the secondary writer of Kamen Rider Ghost. Okay, not a great point of reference. The secondary writer to Kamen Rider Geo. Kamen Rider Saber. Kamen Rider Revice? Okay, that's kind of a win. He also provided us with a bunch of Ninja episodes, such as the ones revolving around Yakumo loving a monster, or a monster loving him. The new series, Uchu Sentai Kyuranger, would start off with a 9-man team and eventually grow to 12, each based on a constellation. Additionally, the series would feature the Rangers having to free the universe from a dictatorship that rules it in terror, called Jark. So, basically Star Wars? The problem was, Toei bit off more than they could chew, as the show clearly didn't have the kind of budget to handle such a bold venture. It also didn't help that Power Rangers in Space kinda covered the same material 2 decades earlier, and did it better.
Power Rangers, Power Rangers, Power Rangers. In space.
Nevertheless, is Kyuranger a series worth venturing into? Or should you run and hide it in the next universe? Watch to find out. The heroes. Having 12 heroes means there is going to be a lot of character development and diversity to go around, right? Right? The Kyurangers are a group of heroes that have been identified as legendary saviors that will one day free the galaxy from tyranny. The man, or rather dragon, in charge of finding these beings is a field commander belonging to a rebellion named Xiaolong Po. Xiaolong took commander of this operation after his boss, friend, and mentor died in battle. As such, he's made it his lifelong goal to achieve this dream, so much so that it ultimately leads him into being a Kyuranger as well. He's a bit on the goofy side, for he constantly injures himself on top of making puns out of any situation. It works thanks to Hiroshi Kamiya's stellar performance. Anime fans will most likely recognize him as being Levi in Attack on Titan, Trafalgar Law in One Piece, God in Fruits Basket, and most recently Gamma #1 in Dragon Ball Superhero.
リベリオンが結成され、キューレンジャーの発見を急いでいた頃、私は別の方法で戦う術を見出した。君たちがチェンジに使うのは、言うなればチェンジキュー玉。
Xiaolong's journey led him to first recruiting a robotic secretary named Raptor 283, Hammy, a space ninja, a robot wrestler who is called Champ, and Spada, a chef. Raptor is voiced by Mao, who was Gokai Yellow and Gokai Jirenmaruru in Ultraman Trigger. Raptor is a bit of a hothead who is quick to anger if someone doubts her, while being a sensitive soul who loves to draw romantic pictures on a tablet.
早速だが、地球にあるジャークマターの教育機関を探してくれ。
かしこまりました。
It does seem like she has a slight crush on Sparta, though it never goes anywhere, thankfully. Speaking of Sparta, he comes from a planet of poverty where he was constantly hungry.
僕の生まれたカジキ酒もジャークマターに支配されててね、食べ物が少なかったんだ。僕にはお腹を空かせた弟や妹がいっぱいいたから、子供の頃からこうして料理を作ってたってわけ。
His goal is to open a restaurant once the universe is freed. There's not much I can really say about Sparta, as Tetsuji Sakakibara was not given much to work with.
これだけのスパイスを使ったら伝説の料理ができちゃうね。
He's easily one of the most underutilized heroes of the show, even more so than Hammy, whose planet was attacked when she was younger.
お師匠様、ジャークマターが来る。
先手を打った私たちは敵から逃げることができた。
She wandered from planet to planet, eventually coming across a striving artist and took his song to heart. Hey, check that out! It's Maji Yellow, Hiroya Matsumoto. She then decided to become a teacher once the Kyurangers have freed the universe from evil. Unfortunately, like with Sparta, Sakurako Okubo has very little material to work with, as Hami only gets a couple of moments sprinkled throughout the series to shine. At least she does get a scene like this.
っていうか、そもそもなんでそんなに武器持ってるのよ。
なんかかっこいいかなと思って。なんてこったそうでもない。
Champ comes off a tad better in that regard, as he's actually given a full-blown story arc. He was created by a scientist named Professor Anton, who taught him everything there was about justice and being a good person. Anton was murdered out of the blue, which set Champ on a quest for vengeance instead of continuing his wrestling career. This led to him becoming a Kyuranger, where he finally finds the individual responsible for murdering his creator. Champ is one of the better rangers in the show, who also happens to be voiced by Akio Otsuka. For those not in the know, not only has Otsuka voiced a glut of monsters in the franchise's past, but he is also the voice of Bato in Ghost in the Shell, on top of being the new voice of Daisuke Jigen in Lupin III.
もう一度聞いてやる。スコルピオンを見つけてどうするつもりだ。
何度聞かれても答えは同じだ。兄は俺が倒す。
信じられねえな。
The next ranger on our list begrudgingly brings me to the annoying, bombastic, obnoxious, the man with a horseshoe up his own ass so he can accomplish anything he wants, Lucky. Lucky apparently had a bad childhood where he was told not to do something, so he left that planet after refusing. Anything Lucky wants, Lucky gets, no matter how far-fetched it may be. You don't think a man can survive in space without oxygen? Well, Lucky can and will prove you wrong.
俺がここで終わるわけね。なぜなら俺は絶対にキューレンジャーになる男なんだからな。
This dude takes everything that was wrong about Takaharu and Ninja and amps it up 100 times over. The only difference is Takumi Kizu has much better acting chops than Nishikawa, so he doesn't come across as annoying when he isn't spouting his signature catchphrase.
ここでお前の運も尽きるのだ。
Did they just rip off a scene from One Piece?
終わり。俺死んだ。
The problem is, Lucky is always screeching that pulp in almost every episode.
よっしゃラッキー！よっしゃラッキー！よっしゃラッキー！よっしゃラッキー！よっしゃラッキー！
I counted up how many times I heard him say it, and across all 48 episodes, he shrieks, "Yosha Lucky!" 148 times. 148 times. Do you not understand the words coming out of my mouth? 148 times. That averages at 3 times per episode, whereas in reality, it varies. There are a handful of episodes where he doesn't spout his catchphrase once, and then in others, he does it 5 to 8 times over. It's way too much. Lucky does acquire an upgrade form halfway through Kyuranger because of course the Red Ranger is going to get an upgrade.
ミラクルスターシシレットオリオン
This turns his costume white and gives him the ability of a portal gun. I will say, I do like the white design more than the red one. Actually, I do like the overall design of the Kyuranger costumes because they don't look like your typical Sentai ones. The helmets are quite unique, and I love how each ranger's body type is built out of a different material at times. Especially with the blue costume having fur on it due to our blue ranger, Garu, being a wolf creature. The globes the rangers have to collect, Kyutamas, are okay as a gimmick. They're not the worst gimmicks ever, even if they don't do much of anything. Basically, they just give the rangers a power-up attack or something for that moment in time, and that's it. That voice sounds very familiar. I wonder if our favorite Kamen Rider Demon voiced those. No, not him. Although I love him. I'm talking about Saburo Kimura. Occasionally they do get armor they can don for the fight, which expires after the battle is done. The rules of the globe really seem to just depend on whatever the plot itself requires. Anyway, let's talk about the aforementioned Garu. He's voiced by Roanoa Zoro from One Piece, Kazuya Nakai. Well, Garu is the sole survivor of his species and ends up becoming a Kyuranger due to Lucky. As such, he pretty much becomes Lucky's best friend, as it were, and does stuff to support Lucky. He pulls out his inner Bugs Bunny in one episode. Huh? Which is kind of funny because that episode does feature another Looney Tunes antic. He's also an idiot. See what I mean? Following Garu comes the pair of thieves, Balance and Naga Ray. Balance is a robot who was created 300 years ago and found solace in being a thief after such a long life. During one incident, he was robbing a planet full of emotionless people and tricked one of its residents to help him escape. This individual ended up being Naga. Apparently, the people of this planet were always at war with each other until they were on the verge of extinction. To counteract this predicament, they wiped all emotions from their bodies to ensure a continued existence. I guess they just love the movie Equilibrium that much?
At the cost of the dizzying highs of human emotion, we have suppressed its abysmal lows. Humankind is one. War is gone. Hate, a memory.
Naga felt trapped by the lack of his emotions and partnered up with Balance in the hopes of finding them. Together, they end up admiring Lucky enough to want to be Kyurangers. Naga does get the Sailor Mercury treatment halfway through the show as his emotions are opened up, creating an evil persona with a cool scarf.
Dark Kyutama. Dark change.
Heavy Sky Metal.
It's a really cool idea that ends up being underutilized thanks to another arc that is placed in the middle of it. As such, we get a good beginning, a good end, but what feels like a non-existent middle that is progressed off screen. It's quite disheartening. Balance will do whatever he can to help his brother in arms out, even if it comes across as him being lazy, as we saw in one episode where he just sat in some trash to spy on the villain without anyone realizing it, to doing whatever is needed to save Naga when he is in need.
そこで燃えないゴミとして回収されちまえきあらどいし興味深い映像見
Voice actor Yuki Ono does a really good job as Balance, but that is to be expected from the man who voices Ultraman Bailio, Josuke Higashikata in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Shiro Ashiya in The Devil is a Part-Timer.
僕は匂いセンサーを遮断したから OK です狼酒の人は鼻が敏感で大変ですね
On the other hand, Naga's actor, Taiki Yamazaki, kind of overacts whenever he is trying to give Naga emotions to the point where they feel forced or disingenuous.
楽しそう
Whoa! Dude, that's creepy.
Next is the second Orange Ranger to grace Sentai, Stinger.
ポイズンスターサソリオレンジ
Played by Yosuke Kishi. Stinger might be the best character on the team as he is the one with the most development on top of being the most engaging of them all. He joined up with the Kyurangers after his brother Scorpio wiped out their people in order to join up with Jark Matter.
敵と戦う日々で何かが狂ってしまった兄貴は力に飲まれて闇に落ちた
This plot thread ties nicely into the one with Champ, given both heroes wanted to avenge those lost to them, especially when it is revealed who the one responsible for Anton's death is. Stinger befriends a pair of brothers while on Earth, building a relationship with the duo to the point where they also see him as one.
小太郎大丈夫か
サソリのお兄ちゃんやっと会えた俺をキューレンジャーに入れて
The oldest of these two brothers, Kochiro Sakuma,
ビッグスターオグマスカイブルー
ends up becoming the 11th Ranger of the series for his bravery in being one of the few humans willing to fight against Jark Matter after the planet had been conquered.
お前ら大人をいじめるなお前ら地球から出ていけ
We come to learn that his mother died when they were young, which is why he always puts on a brave front, as he needed to protect his brother from any possible threat. Given his age, he is often sent to train more than be on the battlefield, but when he goes to battle, he is a fierce little warrior who will rough up any opponent without hesitation. He is portrayed by Shota Toguchi. Our final Kyuranger is the first man who discovered the Kyutama system on an adventure out into space, Tsurugi Otori.
スペースバスターオーソルジャー
Tsurugi fought against Jark Manor hundreds of years ago and believed he defeated their head honcho, Don Amarge. This comes to a shock to the other Rangers given Don Amarge is still in command.
俺様が倒してやるから今のボスの名前教えろ今のボスって
ジャークマターを束ねているのは今も昔も変わらない将軍ドン・ワルマゲだ
なんてこったそんなことあるわけ
300 years ago, Tsurugi was injured in battle and a buddy of his had placed him in a hibernation chamber to recover.
しかし仲間は次々と倒された俺様は不死の命を全て力に変え捨て身で立ち向かっただが
He remained in stasis until the Kyurangers woke him up from his slumber, and that is when the butting of the heads between Tsurugi and Lucky begins. At least, initially. As with all of your typical Six Ranger archetypes, Tsurugi has to act high and mighty at the start, being the lone wolf-esque character until he comes to realize Lucky and gang mean business.
もっと命を大事にしろよあんたが死んだらあんたに宇宙を託した奴らは無駄死にになるんだぞ
After that, Tsurugi becomes a part of their team as they set out to discover how Don Amarge survived centuries ago. Given that he controls Phoenix powers, he is essentially immortal. I should also mention, he is a master of the Kabadan.
ずっと戦ってきたんです
静かに
Due to the large cast, there isn't anyone else in the way of reoccurring characters to be had. It's just as well, given the show has a hard time balancing its leads amongst each other. There is one episode where a few Kyurangers are thrown into an alternate dimension and meet the new Gavin along with Deca Red.
宇宙刑事キャバンデカレット
I thought he was Deca Fire at this point. Well, whatever. X-Aid also shows up. Yay! 2 Christmases in a row featuring X-Aid. The villains. Jark matter? More like don't matter. Ha 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 ha. I can't say there's any excitement to be had with Jark matter. Their leader, the Shogun Don Amarge, is as Emperor Palpatine-like as Palpatine can get. He's very one-dimensional and does much of nothing the entire show. He doesn't even hold an actual presence until the tail end, and even that is lackluster. The best thing about him is his design for when we see him with his cloak off. Even Atsuki Tani seems not to know what to do with him given how utterly forgettable his voice is for Don Amarge. The last minute plot twist is also so predictable that it will have you face palming rather than being shocked. His generals include a Squid Girl cyborg thing that has multiple lives for unknown reasons, a female dinosaur-like thing, I think. And 2 more cybernetic beings. None of them matter though because they don't do much of anything. Well, I guess the most notable thing about Squid Girl is her personality changes with each incarnation. And then we have this dude, who has a voice I should totally know by now. The most important villain in the entire show is Stinger's brother Scorpio. He gave up everything for Jark Matter just because he decided he wanted to be the one to rule the universe. The hard part is I already covered the most important aspects of his character when I talked about Stinger, which goes to show that even Scorpio is not privy to being a lacking villain when all is said and done. In fact, his final episode is undermined by the arrival of Tsurugi at the end of the episode, for this Scorpion's tale ends at the beginning. I really feel Scorpio ended up being the best villain on the show because Yuki Kabuto had to carry so much of the character on his performance alone.
俺はジャークマターを潰すために内部に潜り込もうと考えた。だが甘かった。奴らは俺が仲間になる条件として部族の皆殺しを要求した。
If that name does not sound familiar to you, Kubota also portrayed Kamen Riders in Getsu and Gaim. There's not much in the way of memorable monsters either for Jark Manor, for there is a lot of reused creatures throughout. One of the most notable and annoying ones is a creature called the Death Worm. The Death Worm shows up every so often and tends to be the same costume over, just with a new paint job.
デスワームだと。
The only other monster I can think of off the top of my head is the one that resided in the shadows because he was constantly beating the crap out of Lucky.
この大官も最低の最悪だな。うるさい。姿を見せろ。ふざけんな卑怯者。弱虫でネクラで 最悪の大歓
ちょっとそんな悪口言ったら
言わせておけば
Any monster that can put Lucky in his place is a monster worth remembering. Which is why I totally remembered this dude. Too bad those are far and few between. Hell, the grunts of the series have more personality than the monsters thanks to an episode where we learned they can talk.
それ取れんのかピスタチオみたいだ待ってくれだべ喋れんのかんだマスクを取れば喋れるべ
It's also funny to see the grunts try to find a way to take the Rangers out themselves in order to be recognized for their efforts by Donna Margay.
究極のインだべジャーク戦隊5位
Aw, they want attention! That's so cute! There's another set of grunts that are supposed to be stronger than the Endavers, called Suyo Endavers. See? You know they're higher up because they have Suyo in their name. I don't know what Suyo means, but it's gotta be something important. Oh, and how do Jark Manner's beings grow? Some have this henshin-like device that makes them grow. Others pilot mecha. Jark Manor makes the dead Gillians appear to be a masterclass of villains. The mecha. The mecha may not be Ju-Oger Minecraft bad, but it's still pretty awful. They're a bunch of animals based on the Rangers motif with a big hole in them for a giant globe-shaped control panel to go in. The basic formation is called Kyuranger, which is when the 5 Rangers combine with Lucky's lion mech being the main body. Xiaolong's dragon mech helps form Ryuteo. After a while, they earn the ability to merge the first 11 mechs together, becoming Ryutei Kyuranger. So they're just merging their names together? Gotcha.
Super Galaxy!
Tsurugi brings his own machine to the battle, which is a space shuttle that transforms into Gigant Ho-Oh. Q-Tamajin is born out of the 12 machines merging.
Super Cowards attacking! Q-Tamajin!
But wait, there's more! As if that wasn't enough, the Rangers acquire a new ship halfway through the series that transforms into the Orion Battler. Finally, Lucky's crowning achievement seems to be him gaining a lion bot named Caesar that gives all of the previous mech combos a new hat, along with an arm cannon a la Megatron. There is an ultimate form of all the mecha, all sort of combined. In the end, the mech of this show suck. But again, they're not as bad as the Juo animals. The effects and music. This show is meant to take place across various alien planets that look nothing like Japan. Unfortunately, they failed in this endeavor miserably. According to Toei, this is an alien planet. This is also an alien planet.
とにかく補給玉を探そう。
This too is an alien planet. Meanwhile, this is Earth.
ここが地球か。
What do they all have in common? I don't know. Maybe the fact that they all look the same? Look, I understand we're supposed to suspend our disbelief in these areas being alien planets, but it's a little hard when you see the same locales non-stop year after year. At least when Power Rangers in Space wanted to take place on an alien planet, they tried to dress the area up to resemble one. Even Doctor Who can make a normal soundstage or even a rock quarry look like an alien planet from time to time. Here, 90% of the alien planets look like Japan, and the show suffers for it. They should have done more of this. And less of this. Well, enough of what doesn't work. Let me talk about what does work. The new camera system Toei used in the occasional battle. Sometimes the battle would go into first-person mode and show the fight from the perspective of the Ranger. It was a pretty cool concept and something I wish they had utilized more often. It added a unique style to battle that's been missing since the early 2000s, if not longer. The coolest moment in the series from a camera point of view is this tidbit here. Adopting that style of filmmaking with their show could have gone a long way to cover up the fact that these sets were just Japan pretending to be an alien world. Unfortunately, even the soundtrack is nothing to gawk about. Kyosuke Yamashita provided us with fine scores when it came to the likes of Gokaiger, Kamen Rider Gaim, and Maji Ranger. Here, there's nothing remotely bad about the music at all, it's just that there isn't anything remarkable either. I didn't have anything stuck in my head from a BGM standpoint.
その中に奴がいた。カラッサの戦士クエルコ。
やっぱり来たな。よっしゃれてー。
ラッキー。行くぞ、スティンガー。
The only piece of music that is still giving me headaches is that goddamn annoying ending song by Tsuyoshi Matsubara. Oh my god, this song is so freaking catchy and silly, specifically when the music speeds up. There's even a point where they dance and battle to the ending theme. What's even more enjoyable is the summer festival version. Yeah, this version is way cooler than it should be. Tomohiro Hatano sings the opening theme, Lucky Star, which is okay. It's neither masterful nor unproficient. The episodes. As I said earlier, Kyuranger was an ambitious project that wanted to be far more than what Toei's budgets would allow. Kyuranger is not even remotely close to being a good show, and yet it isn't outright bad either. There are a lot of good ideas bogged down by poor writing and execution. I love the concept of having a 12-ranger team, and how Xiao Long would have a roulette system to keep the team streamlined, usually to 5 to 6 members per mission.
5人全員で行くんじゃないの？どうして？
行かないで。コストとかいろいろたまらんの。
I loved when they would split the teams up to go on different adventures. The problem is that everything else tried to play the show safe in its execution, as if Toei felt the 12 Rangers freeing the universe concept was enough to get by on. No episodes truly go above and beyond typical Sentai fare because of it. What could have been a fantastic show became a mediocre one. It's hard for me to really speak on an episode I outright loved, because so many episodes I wanted to love had some sort of bad decision made in them that kept me from doing such. If I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be a toss-up between Lucky's Unluckiest Day or the one with Gavin and the Deca Rangers. At least in 3 Kyutama to Save the Universe, I can enjoy watching the world play against Lucky and how quickly he gets pissed off because he doesn't get his way. On the other hand, Emergency Dispatch Superhero gives me a look at the better days of Sentai despite it featuring the new bratty Gavin. As for my least favorite episode, I've gotta go with the stupid ass baseball episode opening event, Deathbed of Hell. I've always talked about how sporty Sentai episodes are some of my least favorites, and this is no different. This is one of the worst sporty episodes. The only saving grace from this episode is I can relate to Sparta sucking at sports. Beyond that, it's terrible. The rules make no sense, and they're not even trying to be legit. At least in other Sentai shows, the villains pretend they are trying to play by the rules for a bit. The movies. In a shocking turn of events, Kyuranger only has 3 movies. The first is the usual summer movie that sees a group of villains trying to acquire a satellite system. Xiao Long is presumably killed by these beings, leaving the remainder of the team to battle them. They have to travel across 3 planets, Bull, Dober, and Husky, to stop them. Oh man, this show really has gone to the dogs. It takes place between episodes 25 and 26, though Tsurugi does not actually show up until the last segment of the film. It features a variety of scenes such as Garu getting turned into a motorcycle, a villain wearing armor that makes me think of Bishaman from Darkstalkers,
そして邪魔者小論法が消えた今、私が破壊神ケルベロスの力をこの手に収めるのだ
and a new mech.
頼むぜケルベロス。よっしゃラッキー。
Overall, like I said, it's your standard Sentai summer movie, which means it's neither good nor bad, it just exists. Kinda like this show. Next up comes what was advertised to be a prequel movie to the show, featuring Stinger trying to hunt down Scorpio, only it's more like a mid-story movie that has a flashback scene to another earlier time frame in the series. It kicks off with the Rangers in the middle of a mech battle and Stinger and Champ are knocked out of their mecha. They wake up and try to find the villain while reflecting on an adventure they had while hunting Scorpio together that led them to fighting some alien woman who slaughtered an entire town. To be fair, the town did kind of deserve it because they attacked her first.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
This may be the most brutal scene I've seen in a Sentai series in a long time. Anyway, they defeat the woman, which gives Stinger an upgrade ability he never used in the series until like episode 45. We then come back to present day, and they fight the guy who was originally behind that incident that is behind the new one. Or something. I'm a bit confused because the Rangers are all dressed in school uniforms without any explanation as to why. Either way, the movie was kind of a bore fest. Speaking of yawn-inducing movies, let's talk about Kyuranger vs. Space Squad. Instead of getting a vs. Zyuohger movie, we got one that was advertised to feature Gavin, the Deck Rangers, and a few other Metal Hero teams. Instead, it's mostly the new Space Hero Shiravan with a bit of Gavin, and that's it. False advertising, I tells ya. False advertising. It takes place 4 years after the ending of Kyuranger, so I can't give too much info. The new villain, who is from Gavin's universe, recruits Hammy and forces her to steal a bunch of new Q-Tamas.
これがあれば私たちの悲願は成し遂げられます。信じられないといった顔です。
Whoa! Alpha 6? What are you doing here?
Hey kid, why don't you take a picture of something? It'll last longer.
Alpha resurrects Melee, Juzo, Bosco, and Escape, wiping out their memories and forcing them to do his bidding. At least for 3 of them.
あなたの未練は何ですか？
私はリオ様の愛のために生き、リオ様のいない現世に興味なんかないんだけど。
術のかかりが悪いようですね。
That was kind of funny, actually. Hammy is working for this dude instead of pursuing her teaching career for reasons, and it is up to the other Rangers and Shiravan to stop him. We do learn that Sparta's restaurant must take place in America because Escape just waltzes in and starts shooting up the place. Beyond that and lots of infighting because that's the versus movie way, I can't say I was enamored by anything. The plot kind of really goes nowhere and things just don't make sense because it feels like there's supposed to be another story after this even though there isn't. Outside of Melee, the highlight of the film comes from this random scene where Lucas shows up and starts arguing with Raptor.
盗まれる方が悪いのよ。ちょっとそんな公開に行こうとしないでください。これはなんか二人声が似てるような。どこですか?
Overall, I wouldn't call Kyuranger the worst Super Sentai series ever made because it isn't. But there's not much to like outside of its basic concepts. And then there's Lucky. As such, I am going to give Kyuranger a mediocre 2 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. The hard part is that everything this series tries to do, Power Rangers in Space did better. That's the reality of it. If you want to see a Sentai series bite off more than it can chew, Kyuranger is the show for you. I've seen much worse. I've also seen better. Until next time, Merry Christmas! Bye.
Get